Hey guys, it's Clay from Clear Critique, and it's time for another comparison between two Bond movies featuring the same actor. I just did a head-to-head between the bottom two from Roger Moore, link to that is in the playlist below, and now it's time for the top. And that's The Spy Who Loved Me versus For Your Eyes Only. 2 films, 7 categories, let's do this. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to support the channel, I really appreciate it, and comment with your thoughts. First, I'll try to find alternatives to saying the full titles of these movies over and over. It really doesn't help that the abbreviations are and phew. So in the interest of not sounding like that scene from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, let's press on. Everyone knows the importance of a strong start in a story, and Your Eyes Only trips on bananas right out of the gate. Bond kills Blofeld in a stunningly stupid sequence. We don't see the villain's face, the action is tedious, the death is ludicrous, and it's obvious that this was a way for the franchise to kill off the character. The older Bond films routinely stumbled when it came to the lore, and this scene is the clumsiest example. After a credit sequence that can best be described as Nyquilian, the plot kicks off and I found myself quickly invested. An undercover surveillance vessel is destroyed in a short but effective sequence, and we see a sailor try to destroy the ATAC system they have on board. Then Russians conspire, a couple is murdered, and our hero is debriefed, all before the 20-minute mark. And yet, unlike some movies I could mention, it doesn't feel rushed. The cuts are motivated, everything feels clear and justified. From there, unfortunately, Your Eyes Only kept losing me and winning me back. How do we get from the drama surrounding a downed surveillance system to Bond fighting a biathlete and a bunch of hockey players? We're back to suave dialogue at a casino, and later on a beach, Tywin Lannister takes an arrow in the back this time. But then Bond and Melina fall in love underwater? That's what the music's insisting. Romance and flippers. Wonderful. The Spy Who Loved Me is more consistent in its writing. There's a narrative thrust and just the right amount of skirmishes to keep up the pacing. It is back to basic screenwriting in the best sense. Focus on these main elements, the missiles, the rivals, the villain, and do them well. Spy gets the point. I gotta say, after watching Octagonorrhea and A Poo to a Kill, it was like rinsing out bad toothpaste watching these two films, especially with how Bond is written. In Spy, Moore is at his most serious, and he performs it well. He comes across like a real secret agent this time, one with some presence, one who I believe has killed people without me actually witnessing it. There is one aspect of Bond in the other film that exemplifies the character. I want you to listen to Roger Moore's voice in this scene.
Your father was part of it. He thought it important enough to risk his life. Now, Melina, please trust me. Go back to the Triana and wait. Let me find out what I can here, then I'll come straight to Corfu, I promise you.
Now, if you're driving, close your eyes and listen again.
Your father was part of it. He thought it important enough to risk his life. Now, Melina, please trust me. Go back to the Triana and wait. Let me find out what I can here, then I'll come straight to Corfu, I promise you.
Does this make him sexy? No. Intimidating? Not really. But it's great. It's the vocal equivalent of a pullover sweater heated by a crackling hearth. This is a slightly more sensitive Bond, but what I like is that it doesn't feel like a total deviation from his character. Both his performance in the field and his caring for Melina carry a sense of dignity, but the job and the woman still demand different things from him, and therefore, there's conflict. This Bond offers more to chew on without losing that occasional slice of brutality we know and love. Speaking of, 2 of my all-time favorite Bond moments exist in the movies I'm discussing today, and the one from Your Eyes Only is a chef's kiss in displaying this brutality.
You left this with Ferrara, I believe.
For complexity, performance, and that pinstripe suit, For Your Eyes Only gets the point. Melina from For Your Eyes Only sees her parents murdered, and Anya's lover from The Spy Who Loved Me is murdered by Bond himself. This shows a clear intent by the writers in giving the leading ladies some depth, as their stories serve more as catalysts for the plot than hotel doors to drunkenly knock on. What Melina does is cool. She's capable in a fight, she has a cool crossbow, and she isn't screeching every 10 seconds. How she talks, how she's performed, isn't cool.
How did you know where Gonzalez was?
Through a detective agency. What were you doing there?
She suffers from the same problem many of the Bond girls from the pre-Brosnan days had, in that all their voices sound the same. Same accent, same slightly raised pitch like they're a stewardess, and probably dubbed. Who is worse is the obsessive figure skater, who is as irritating as She-Hulk, although she at least works for what she gets. I know she's supposed to annoy Bond, but it works twofold on us. Now, she's not the worst. I wouldn't toss her in the tar pits of supporting characters alongside Oberchef from No Time to Die, or, just to reference a movie I recently watched, Benny from Treasure Planet. But she's shrill and stupid and, worst of all, completely unnecessary. This blowjob joke is pretty good though, I won't lie.
Didn't you ever come up for air?
That's where I'll get the gold medal. Breath control.
Yes, well, you can't lose.
Anya from The Spy Who Loved Me is more interesting on paper. She's a rival agent, working for the KGB, yet grows closer to Bond the more time they spend together. But then she learns Bond killed her lover during a mission, which complicates matters. That's plenty to go on already, yet much of her character shifts are simply told to us, and don't impact the plot in a significant way. The actress is fine, a bit rigid, although she does much better than her competitor. And the small smile when she realizes she can't kill Bond is natural and cute.
In my country, Major, the condemned man is usually allowed a final request.
Granted.
Let's get out of these wet things.
Melina is better written but terribly performed. Anya is better performed but not as well written. With nothing awful to attribute the latter, and a Disney Channel executive's fantasy distracting from the former, the point goes to The Spy Who Loved Me. Carl Stromberg from The Spy Who Loved Me, who I like to call Evil Fraser Crane, made the cut on my top 10 Bond villains video, and for good reason. He is brutal, killing accomplices or traitors in cold fashion. He is well-spoken and proper, and he has a fabulous voice.
You're deluded, Mr. Bond. I'm not interested in extortion. I intend to change the face of history.
By destroying the world?
By creating a world.
The actor is perfect. His line delivery and eye contact, how he sounds passionate yet controlled, makes you hang on his every word.
A British agent in love with a Russian agent. Détente indeed.
Of course, we can't discuss villains without Jaws. His middle teeth gimmick is silly, but not so ridiculous that it doesn't fit the film. The kills themselves bother me a little. It's like they're wading through Jell-O. Come on, you got it. Almost there. Nyam, 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 nyam. I do have a feeling the filmmakers wanted Jaws to be a classic movie monster, like Dracula or Frankenstein. And what's most important about a monster is presence, and Jaws certainly offers that. Against these two, Aristotle Christados, Kriegler on Skieglers, and Octopussy over here don't stand a chance. I could go on, but honestly, this one's not even close. The climbing scene does everything right. First off, Roger Moore did some of the climbing, using a real last-ditch climbing technique with a shoelace. Allegedly, the actor was so nervous he drank tequila beforehand, which honestly could have made things a lot worse. This is a nail-biting sequence made all the more intense by how procedural it is, and the mixture of wide shots and close-ups keep us in the moment. I also like how when Bond is in the most danger, the music cuts out. The rest of the action is pretty good. Granted, the pool scene and the chase that follows looks like we've wandered onto the set of a 70s music video. Saying that, the car chase is well executed with good stunt work. I don't think I've ever seen an anti-burglary system overcompensate before, but this is kind of amazing. I also have to mention when Bond and Melina are dragged through coral. Not only is this interesting, but much detail is on display. Blood is spilling into the water, but the film doesn't overdo it, and you can see the fresh cuts on our hero's back with each shot. Regarding The Spy Who Loved Me's action, 3 things stand out. First is the ski jump, where the camera doesn't cut and we see the whole death-defying plunge in all its glory. The second is a colorful fistfight that syncs up to epic music from a nearby show. And the third not so much stands out, but blasts a Vegas spotlight, and that's the finale. The set is incredible. Not only does it look like a real structure that could exist, but it's ominous in its design, like being inside the belly of a giant sea animal. The action is easy to understand, yet still feels chaotic. Outside of these, the action has problems. Most of the fisticuffs are bland, especially this one early on. What was he trying to accomplish here? Bond, if you want a piggyback ride, you don't go from the front. To give it credit, remember when I said these movies have 2 of my favorite Bond moments? The other one caps off this scene.
Where's Peckish? Where's Peckish? Pyramids!
Yes! The underwater action, as usual, is a bit dull, and even in that finale there are some noticeable flubs. Both films have high and low points of action, but For Your Eyes Only takes the point for simply offering more of the former. The theme song is nice, pretty melody, pleasant vocals. It doesn't feel like a Bond song, but a few of the other films went more for ballads than sultry numbers. And at least they didn't sound like their nuts are being twisted by the fucking Infinity Gauntlet. There is literally nothing to mention about Your Eyes Only credit sequence, except that it's like taking heroin without the dopamine hit. I really enjoy when movies settle on a color scheme. If you want to see this done well, check out The Spy Who Loved Me. I see a lot of dark blues in this movie, and it fits the slightly more serious tone and naval focus. It's a combination of good lighting, framing, and plenty of contrast that gives a crispness to the visuals. The framing is especially inspired. Just by putting that extra work into staging a shot makes certain moments all the more evocative. A sub moving in tandem with characters in the foreground give context to the location and some visual flavor to exposition. For Your Eyes Only is perfectly satisfactory from a filmmaking standpoint, but The Spy Who Loved Me is the best looking Bond movie from Moore's run. Both experimental and professional, the filmmaking here is a joy to watch because it doesn't need to hide under the Bond label. They did a good job, not just for a Bond movie, and it looks sleek as hell. Now we're on the last category, sex, swagger, intrigue, the Bondness of a Bond film. Which of these movies did this genre more justice? For Your Eyes Only definitely has its moments. There's a lovely bit where Bond and Q do some detective work while drinking coffee. The action is exciting yet doesn't escalate into Moonraker lunacy. That 20-minute segment early on is as good as these stories get. Unfortunately, the movie seems as confused with itself as a celebrity during COVID, and doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be. The shifts in tone are more distracting than fun, and all the extra characters only give the story depth in the same way lips can be bedazzled with herpes. It's trapped by its own excesses, while The Spy Who Loved Me is trimmer, slicker, sexier, and practically saunters to its conclusion. Tallied up, and the 5-2 victory goes to The Spy Who Loved Me, a proficient and creative adventure that has so much of what I want from this franchise, and is the film I would point to when recommending a Bond flick from the Roger Moore era. And I enjoyed For Your Eyes Only, don't let the tallies fool you. It's just one of those things. Its competitor raised the bar so high, it couldn't possibly clear it. R.I.P. Roger Moore. We'll miss you.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Well, let's say au revoir. I have the oddest feeling we'll be meeting again sometime.
So what are your top and bottom 2 films from Roger Moore? How would you dedicate these points? Subscribe, click the bell, all the fun stuff, and I'll see you for some horror-related videos coming soon. Thanks for watching.